Yo, what's
There
up,
he
man?
is. What's good?
How you guys doing?
We're good. That sounds good.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Look at you with your fucking fan. Oh, there you go.
Hell yeah.
I don't know this movie, and I saw you on Jim and Sam, where they like sandbagged you with the whole cast of it.
Dude, they surprised me. It took every shred of my body not to start crying.
Well, do you know this movie, Rad?
I don't think I do. I feel like I've heard of it, but I've definitely never seen it.
It's like a 1986 BMX movie. I watched it when I was 4, so I think I saw it in like 89, and it just shifted my entire life. I immediately got a mongoose. I was like going off ramps at 4 and shit.
Are you?
I like how you had to specify the year. Like, you could have said it's the BMX movie, not the one from '86.
Well, there's also everybody who's like, no, Gleaming the Cube, bro, or BMX Bandits.
Are you a legit BMX guy? Like, you know what? Can you handle yourself on these things?
I mean, I'm gonna break my wrist by the end of the summer.
Yeah.
I just bought a 1997 mongoose on eBay, and I'm like fixing it up. Dude, I'm like fully regressing.
You know what? Do you know what you're doing with that shit?
Kinda. I mean, I'm like going on YouTube and trying to figure out, how to do certain tricks and like what parts to buy and all that shit. I'm like, it's so pointless.
Did you ever go to Camp Woodward?
No. A couple of my buddies did
that,
though for aggressive inline skating.
When I was a little
rollerblading
kid,
thing?
like when I was a kid, when I was a kid, there's a skate park by my house that like all the cool kids hung out at. They all smoked weed and cigarettes and all kinds of awesome stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna become a skater so I can do that. And I tried to skateboard and I just couldn't. So I started inline rollerblading, and that was always the dream. It was like, if we get to Woodward, we are the real fucking deal.
Dude, yeah. I remember my buddy Arthur in school, and he was like, he always had the best skates. He always had the newest Jenkos. He was just that kid, right? That like his parents just funneled what was cool at him, and he sucked as a result. But like he went to that camp, and
He went to Woodward?
Like,
I never known someone who went to Woodward.
wildly. I was so jealous.
This sounds like the yacht week of kid camps. You know what I mean? Like, you actually went, dude. You went there. You did it.
I remember asking my parents if I could go to Camp Woodward, and they were just like, "You can barely rollerblade, dude. No."
Yeah. Well, and it was an astonishing price when we were kids. Like it was like $3,500 for a week, which for summer camp, I think my parents were paying like $500 to $700 for sleepaway for basketball.
Right.
And then they saw that with all the equipment, they're like, no, we're not gonna fund another pipe dream of yours.
Right. Dude, my parents were like, dude, learn how to drop a half pipe once. That's it. Like, don't be too scared to drop in the half pipe one time, and maybe we'll think about it.
Oh, I gave my parents hell because I had all of the, like, Rockland County, some of the kids are like wild. Their parents are really wealthy. Mm-hmm. So I had a buddy whose like dad built him a half pipe in the backyard instead of hugging him. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I need every ramp known to man.
Dude, my town was we were in Pelham, and we were surrounded by New Rochelle, the Bronx, Mount Vernon. So we had like the rich white kid town, and then all the locals in the other towns would just come in and steal all our bikes. Like everybody's bike was constantly stolen, and we would see them like riding in our town. One guy riding a bike while holding the handlebars of another, and just ghost riding it back to town. It was like, well, that's not yours. Yeah. Like either your buddy who was riding with you is like dead now or something, or you took someone else's bike.
Either way, it's a tragedy.
Right. And we would just like, I don't know. We were like, well, you're gonna like, we can't like fight back. You're gonna beat us up or anything. It's just like, well, I gotta get a new bike, I guess.
One time, my bike got stolen from my front yard, and my cousin comes over and he goes, "I'll get it." And the next morning I woke up and it was back. And I was like, what did you do, dude?
He's just wearing a blood-soaked t-shirt and he's like, you're welcome.
I had a mongoose.
He's like, I'll find it. I'll get it for you.
I had a mongoose that I loved, and it was my first. My parents always got me like the shitty bike, and all the other rich kids had the dynos and the GTs and all that shit. So I finally got a mongoose, and it got stolen. And my buddy at the time, you ever have one of those, this is a weird, random story, but you ever have one of those like coconuts that they turn into like a pirate head, So my buddy had just gone back from vacation, and he had this coconut thing. And that's what we were riding bikes, and he had that. And it got stolen, and the coconuts were still there. and my parents thought it was like a calling card, like the Joker leaving a fucking card. And I heard them like talking to, I don't think it was like a cop. I don't think they like called the police, but they were talking to somebody. And they're like, what do you think this means? And I was kind of like, what are you guys talking about over there? Like, the coconut head, it's a clue. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Just buy me a new bike, please. Leave me alone. The good old
that
days.
was great. We used to like go into the woods and just like machete out a trail and try to build out like our own pump track. And I mean, I remember doing it both successfully and then unsuccessfully, where we just like went onto somebody's plot of land that they just purchased, and then they like chased us off with a rifle in their fucking overalls. It was like, where do we live?
Rockland is a weird spot, man. Rockland's like right on the verge of, you know, it's close enough to the city, but you're also gonna get some upstate vibes, sorta. It's weird.
Yes. Oh, dude, it is. They take great pride here for being 19 miles away from New York City and never visiting. It's like
You can't even get there.
Cultural epicenter.
The fact that there's no like train from Rockland to the city like direct is kind of crazy. You got to do like planes, trains, and automobiles to get to Manhattan.
Exactly. I mean, there's like, it's kind of Pearl River has one that you can take into Penn, but then after that, it's like Tarrytown. So you got to go over what used to be the TZ Bridge and, you know, take it right into Grand Central. But you're right. There's like nothing direct. I used to have to take the bus from Spark Hill when I was still living in Rockland and then doing comedy in the city. I was taking the bus every single day from Spark Hill into Port Authority. And that was like a true nightmare.
Dude, the only thing, the TZ Bridge is.
But hang on. We're talking about the Tappan Zee Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys? It's a TZ. Is that how it's abbreviated?
That's my high school was Tappan Zee High School, and we shortened it to TZ. So I think I just
I never heard that before.
The TZ Bridge is just it's just designed for suicide. It's just like, this will bridge you can get your automobiles over the river, but also you can kill yourself here.
Yeah. Well, and towards the end of it, you couldn't really get your automobiles over the river. It was I think it's a floating bridge, so they had to like displace rocks all the time to just keep it from like tipping the fuck over. Like it was a truly bizarre
That thing is
engineering thing.
Catastrophe. So I had you on because I just watched Timing. And I saw you tweeting about it. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, this fucking guy's in a movie? Like, not a documentary, like a movie. And shit, man, it's good.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, we shot it for the better part of a decade, so. I'm glad it at least came out coherent.
That's funny. I mean, it's... I can't, because you're in it, Akash, Mike Feeney, Tim Dillon, like a lot of names that we know and have had on the show. So it's weird to see like all these guests that we've had now on screen. But I feel like it really captures the essence, at least from what I would imagine, because I'm not in it the same way you guys are. But I feel like it really captures the essence of like New York City comedy and like the grind and how it fucks with the rest of your life and relationships and whatnot. We get a fraction of that with the blog as far as how it impacts your personal life or whatever. But I mean, it was some like heavy shit. It was funny at times, cute, romantic. I mean, it had it all.
A lot of tongue kissing, huh?
Yeah. So what was that like? I mean, is she an actress or is she a comic?
No, imagine I'm like, no, we just found her. No, she's an actress. I think she dabbled in stand-up a little bit, but she's like a trained actual actress.
I was going to say,
she's also a musician.
She's like...
She brought it. She's very good.
It feels like, that was...
Gracie Carley.
The actress, Gracie, and then, you were kind of like the comic trying this thing out, but for, to be on camera with her and she's more like, she knows what the fuck she's doing, Mike. Is that awkward or are you just like, did you roll with it?
I think it would have been awkward if there was a script. Like that
was my next question. How much was it like you just were kind of riffing?
I mean, it was kind of like, so Alex Anderson, the director, he had the idea for the movie, came up with the concept. He knew what it wanted to look like. It was more in line with his story. A lot of that stuff I went through as well. Like I did Bark in Times Square, all those open mics. I've definitely left my now wife at, holding her dick at like, parties while I went and did a 5-minute spot at some shithole bar.
Right.
Like all of that stuff is really uniform across the board, but he mostly had like kind of scene ideas. And it was super ambitious at first because I think we had like 60 scene changes.
Wow.
And we're just guerrilla shooting it all over New York. And so once we got into a scene, though, 100% of the dialogue was made up on the spot.
Holy shit. And I mean, it's like, it's real conversations. Like, I mean, it's not just like quick little bits that I feel like you could fly through. That's really impressive, because I was actually thinking how natural it sounded, and now that makes a lot more sense that, it really was like your own words and feelings.
Yeah, I think that's how you make somebody like me look moderately capable. You know what I mean? It's like I do podcasts, I do stand up, so I'm comfortable being in the moment. So when things have to be like created organically on the spot and not me memorizing and then accessing and then delivering, that to me made it a little more authentic.
That's a great point, actually. I mean, we've never done anything like a movie, but anytime I've done like a video or a viral thing, and I have like a script or whatever, it sounds terrible. Like we can't do that at all. Like, whenever I recite lines, you can tell I'm reciting lines. I guess you probably do that with Making a Gambler, where it's like you have a framework and then you just run with it.
We do exactly the same thing. We have like an idea, and then we're just like, all right, everything on the spot now, because it would look ridiculous otherwise. Like, exactly like you're saying.
Yeah, I think I'm a big pothead also, so my memory isn't the greatest, but it takes certain mechanisms in my head to like remember things and then try to project them out. And if I'm doing all of that in my own head, I'm assuming it's not going to look real.
Right.
Now, did your wife see it, and did she see any lines where she was like, I know where that one came from?
All of it.
All of it.
The fighting scene, there's a couple fights, but one of the fighting scenes in the kitchen when she, gets this job offer, and then I finally like leveled up a little bit in comedy, and we're arguing, and she just turned to me. She's like, "You're not even acting. You're just a good arguer." She's like, "I've seen this piece of shit before."
And your wife, you've been with like since high school, right?
Yeah, I mean, since on and off since we were like 10 years old. We literally grew up next door to each other, and she's, it's crazy that she's known me before this was even an idea in my head.
Right.
And now, she's totally on board with stand-up, acting, anything that I'm doing. She's pumped.
So you met when you were 10?
Yeah. We met on the blacktop where they lined everybody up to get their buses in 5th grade.
Wow. So you met like 40 girls in your life, and you're like, this is the one.
No, we've each dated other people, because that would be psychotic.
I was thinking, how am I going to politely navigate the rest of this conversation? Because I think if you meet and that's it, and you go with that person, you're a fucking idiot and a weirdo.
Totally, absolutely mentally ill. Not only, and also, I don't want the pressure of being the only penis my wife has seen or accessed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then what? She's just looking out into the world with like, wondering eyes, just seeing what else is out there. It's like, no, you see what else is a good fit, and then you come back to me when it's all done.
When you're ready to settle, come on down,
Yeah, exactly. Once you see everybody else is also a piece of shit, you come back to them.
That's so true. That really is. That's romance right there.
Oh, and the date around for me too, dude. I mean, I've had periods where I slept with a majority of my high school, which also overlapped into my wife's friends. So it's like, it's just insane. She knows everything there is to know about me, and the simple fact that there is that transparency with us, it's made our relationship that much better.
Yeah, I feel like true love is accepting. If you accept me that I'm a piece of shit, that's true love.
Right. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
There's one scene in the movie, and I asked you if this was real. I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, I think it's such a great podcast bit. So Mike gets approached by this chick after he does a set, and she's like overly into him, and she's like, "Let's go back to my place," and she handcuffs him to the bed and starts blowing him, and then her boyfriend comes home and starts screaming at her, and they fight, and it turns out this is what they're into, and it's like a cuck situation, and they fuck in front of Mike while he's handcuffed, and at the end he's like, "Yeah, man, like, sorry about that, like, hey, that's just kind of our thing," and he goes to him, I feel bad sending you home with a full bag. You want her to blow you? Like, it is just, and the thought now that I realize that this is all kind of improvised and all impromptu, the fact Mike's like, No, I'm good. It is.
Honestly, if that was me, I would have said yes.
Yeah.
100%. If that was based on my life, I would be like, you know what, buddy? If you could just take a walk down the hall, finish me off, and then send me on my way with a clear head.
I mean,
I don't want to send you home with a full bag.
It's so good, dude. And we had talked after I watched the movie, and I was asking how much of it's real, how much is not. And you were saying you think that it might have been at least based on a real story with the director?
Yeah, I think so the director, Alex Anderson, I started comedy with him. Him, Akash, and I all did the Village Underground for the first couple years. We barked outside of it. And, we liked, at the time, we likened it to like JV The Cellar. It was like junior varsity comedy cellar. It's where we were, just taking reps, getting our asses kicked. Every show was a nightmare. It was just very difficult. But also, you got to meet some pretty kooky broads. And I have been with my wife since I started comedy. So that, to me, wasn't even on the table. But right. Alex, the director, especially early in comedy when he wasn't sober, he was getting into some all sorts of shit. And I think that was one of the situations.
I feel like comedy, like part of... I always talk about how when I hear from you guys, it's like you got to start when you're like fucking 3 years old, right? And I also feel like part of it is doing it early enough that during all your formative years, you are also involved in the comedy world. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Normal people are not gonna, they're gonna have their stories, but they're not gonna encounter weird like groupie girls at an open mic who want to like fuck you, and I feel like it just kind of feeds the beast of comedy,
I think so too. I think it's a little dicier now, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You gotta make sure and have them sign a permission slip and all that stuff. But
right.
But I still get it. Like I'll talk about my wife and my son on stage for a full hour, and girls will come up to me after being like, "So what's up after this?" And I'm like, "You're trying to ruin my life."
Yeah, and you're okay with that. That's wild.
Dude, I told a girl in Dewey Beach, she was a smoking hot chick, came up after me after a headlining thing, and she was like overly flirty in my face, and I was like, listen, like, you're a terrible person. you heard what I just talked about. That didn't bother you at all, and you're trying to get me to throw away my life. So what? I can come quick with you?
But did you say that? What'd you say to it?
Yeah. That's exactly what I said. Brendan Sagalow was right next to me, and he's like, "I'll take a blowjob."
Like the whole gang that was in it, was that do you have all those guys in mind and you're like, let's roll, let's do it? I'm sure everybody was kind of excited to get involved.
I mean, Alex again, he was friends with Akash. He got all them. Kate Wolf is another comedian. Mm-hmm. She was in it. Tim Dillon. I mean, I was friends with Tim at that point already, but like, I think Alex was the one that reached out, and Tim's part.
He's such a cocksucker.
Not to spoil anything, but like he's basically degrading me about comedy. And I remember it being so convincing that I was in a bad place for like a week and a half. After that scene, I was like, I know that was a scene, but like that felt so real, probably was real. It like made me spiral about thinking if Tim meant it directly towards me personally. Like
it's such an unbelievable asshole. It's like a 5-minute scene that is just like brilliant on his part of how much of a dick he is.
Tim knows exactly what to say.
Yeah.
To get anybody to give up.
So in general, the movie is a lot about, he's got this girl and she's got her own dreams, and how do you juggle it and how do you balance it? And I feel like that's something that really only people involved in, music or comedy or acting, whatever, trying to be like an entertainer, trying to basically chase like a pipe dream, can probably relate to. But I'm always fascinated by that, because I obviously I fucked it all up and didn't handle it well and didn't know how to balance it. But I feel like even if you're like successful in doing so, it still sucks, man. I mean, it is. Yeah. It's not an easy choice.
It's hard. I mean, I've gone through different like eras of myself throughout my career, and like initially I made zero compromises. My wife knew that, or my girlfriend at the time knew that like it was comedy first. I was 100% dedicated to this thing, and like the relationship, although I was super committed to it, it was a periphery thing. I was like, I'm so driven. My dad was an actor. coming up, and then he had kids, and he always kind of blamed us for why he didn't succeed in acting, which is how you get a comedian. but I
So
saw
really, you
that.
should be thanking him then, Mike.
I know. No, it's honestly, it's a hard learned lesson. And that's why I didn't get married until I was like 30, 31.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I need to make sure that I'm at least relatively established in this shit. And, and I know the direction I'm going before I fully legally commit. And I have a woman that's super ride or die and totally supportive. And I mean, my wife has proven that over and over throughout the years, but it took me growing up and kind of recognizing that there needs to be a balance between like, okay, we can do a night a week where we see each other, and then I go off and do my horse shit, but like it took a long time to get to that place and feeling of comfort to allow that.
Well, I think what's interesting is for this type of job, it is what you make it. Like it's not that you have a boss like breathing down your neck. It's that you want to be at the show so you don't miss an agent or a big night or a guest spot or whatever it may be. So like I think there's you always feel internally like, well, if I take a night off, I know that I'm not going to get to where I want to get. You start to blame yourself. You start to blame her. And I mean, it's like that internal ambition is the worst thing in the world for relationships is ambition.
Totally.
Ambition's the worst.
Also, I mean, if there's ever been a time that makes me appreciate that I did balance it well is during the fucking pandemic and during quarantine, because it's like, if I threw this away and I'm some asshole that lived by myself in, a 1-bedroom in Queens or whatever, I'm actually talking about Brendan Sagalow. but if I just threw away my relationship and was 100% focused on comedy and didn't nurture any type of interpersonal connection to anybody, then stand-up gets ripped away from me. What the fuck do you have?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm genuinely grateful that I kind of saw the importance of this relationship and stuck with it.
As someone who spent most of the pandemic with his family, you're not missing much. like the other side would have been pretty good. Dude, I was like hiding from footsteps. I could like hear things. It's like give me a panic attack, like just someone closing a cabinet. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna break. I'm gonna break down if you close that cabinet again.
Dude, I feel like I'm there right now. I just did my first road weekend at Comics Mohegan Sun in Uncasville.
How's that?
And it's one thing to perform inside while you've been fear-mongered for the last 3.5 months, but it's another thing to then be in a casino where it's like casinos attract the worst type of people anyway, and then you add a deadly pandemic to it.
Right.
So the hurdle, which knocks off a percentage of them, then like brings in even more terrible humans. It was a wild scene to be around, dude, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready to be outside yet.
Was it like just tables like way spread out? It's got to be a weird, like just looking out into the crowd. It's got to be strange, right?
So in the club, it wasn't bad. So I think we sold out at 25. It's sold out at 25% capacity every single night, which that is perfect numbers for me because that's what I draw anyway. But like it was spread out to the point where it almost felt like the room was full. The laughter didn't roll exactly the same as like a tight, compact unit, but like for the most part, it was good. What was sketchy was the casino. So the casino where I saw Vegas and they have all those like. They have the plexiglass and all that stuff. I mean, they took zero of those precautions in Connecticut. There's like guys wearing the mask over their, whatever, or the shield over their mask, and they have the shield pulled up like it's a hat brim. You guys are fucking...
It's not working that way, guys.
Dude, we went down to a casino in West Virginia, and it was the same thing. It was like wearing a mask there, like you could feel the judging eyes like, yes, I bet you're a Democrat. Like wearing a mask.
Everybody was calling us a bitch with their eyes. Everybody. They're just like, eesh, this libtard sheep.
Had to be a lot better though than I saw the video of you doing like in that parking lot, I think in Queens or some shit. Drive-in, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember, was that they were in cars? Did they do like the radio thing, or they were just listening to you like over a speaker?
Yeah, so they did. That was like a drive-in comedy show at the Bel Air Diner in Astoria, which they're still doing, and they're kind of improving each and every week. When I got there, it was the first time that they did like 6 chairs up front in front of the car. So everybody else, I mean, it's like 30, 40 cars in this parking lot, all tuned into a radio station to hear you through their car system. And then the 6 people up front kind of lended a bit of normalcy. So it felt like you were kind of playing to people. But beyond that, it was like a live Zoom event because I'm just watching through windshields and people like kind of delayed, chuckling. And most of them were still wearing masks. So I couldn't even see the expression of joy on their face. It was brutal.
Yeah, that is a level of at that point you're just hoping to get reps in and shit, right? You can't even be thinking about the crowd because that's as awkward of a setup as it can possibly be.
Right, and I mostly did it so I got that video. It's all about content in quarantine, baby. So I'm shooting everything I possibly can, and I'm like, well, if that's going to be the new normal, I want to be the first one to get something out about it.
It's funny. You see the people who like kind of get it and are going to do podcasts and internet content and videos, and the people who are just kind of like, if I can't get on stage, I am completely fucked. Like zero adapting on their part at all is crazy.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing, and I understand like the impulse to hang on to what's comfortable and what you love because comedy stand up, I should say, is my number one thing. I'm probably one of the few. There's levels to this, right? Where like there's obsessive comedians that were totally their end goal is to be a draw. Their end goal is to be a comedian and tour and have people intentionally buy tickets to come out and see them. And then there are other comedians that do it as like a side hustle. They hope that it'll land them some acting jobs or they can do something else. And it's like that's never been my shit. So the heartbreak of having to give it up for a couple months is certainly there, but it's like, what am I going to do? Force my wife to pay attention to me? It's like I got to get this outlet and attention and positive affirmation somehow. So I'm adapting and trying to put stuff out any way I can.
When do you think that you'll be back on stage in front of a full capacity crowd?
Fuck, man. I mean, this weekend, if anything, it's taught me that it might be longer than we anticipated.
I feel like we're talking like 2021, like a decent chunk
too.
into 2021,
We had been, before this all started, we had been like working on planning a podcast tour. And I don't know if we're going to do it until 2022.
I know. I think
because we're not gonna, we have a job, so we're not going to do it unless it's 100%. We're not going to go in like a
there's no point. 25% for us is like we're learning how to do it still. We don't have that addiction need the way comics do. So like we'll do it when we can do 100%, or at least like I don't know 90%,
right?
Which is
yeah. I bet 2022.
John, we may never do this.
Yes, got the excuse.
Dude, isn't that the most heartbreaking thing? It's like you're like, all right, as soon as there's a vaccine, and then the first report is like, hey, vaccine is going to be 40% effective. And it's like, well, then maybe never.
You do have the Irish Goodbye podcast though with Feeney. Which I saw the clip the other day. Mike had no idea what SMDH meant, and what was the other one?
I didn't know. TL, too long didn't read that one.
So Mike's telling a story. Mike Feeney's telling a story.
Wait, what's SM? Suck my dick.
Shaking my damn head. So you're an idiot too.
Okay. No, I would have gotten it. I would have gotten it.
Well, that's basically where Mike was too. Okay. So Feeney's telling the story, and he's like, it's long-winded. And he's like, TLDR, too long didn't read, and Mike was like, oh, that's what that means. And everyone's kind of clowning him, and he's like, well, I knew what it meant, I just didn't know what it meant. And I was thinking, like, that's, you could see TLDR and know that means the abbreviated version of a story without knowing the actual
that's
letters. And that's where you're at. And I bet you there's a lot of fucking people out there like that.
Dude, one time I was at the doctor's office when I was probably like in middle school. When I was in 6th grade, right? I hung out with the 8th graders. I was cool as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And this girl, I think her name was Jessica, I forget her name, but she had written, like, in a tattoo style font, SMB, which she meant as suck me beautiful.
Suck me beautiful.
Nice. A good shout to Stifler.
Yeah, exactly. And I went to the doctor with it on my hand still, and I was in the room with my doctor and my mother, and he's like, what does SMB mean? And I immediately, without missing a beat, said, "Sorry, my bad." And I was like, "Oh, I'm a good liar."
That's when you scare yourself.
Yeah. I was like, "Boy, that came really easy."
Those moments where you like prove to yourself you're a sociopath are so intense. I almost said auditioned, but I interviewed for like an office manager job when I was just starting out in comedy, and that's what I thought. I had been referred by a friend's parent that worked at this company, and they were like, "It's just an office manager job, super easy, 9 to 5, then you get to do comedy at night." And the first question they asked me when they were there, they were like, "So you're a Mac specialist, huh?" And I was like, "All my life." Just totally
Invented
off
that
the
shit.
tongue.
Yeah.
I was so confident they didn't give me a test. Like they were like, "All right, we believe you." And then I had that job for 5 years, and I like Costanza'd my way through it, acted
That's life,
frustrated
man.
every time somebody would ask me a question, and just did it.
I had it one time. I went to the liquor store with my girlfriend. This is probably like 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. And I wasn't 21 at the time. So what I had was a fake passport. And then I had my license. I'm sorry, not my license, my credit card.
Who the fuck has a fake
Yo,
passport
it's
besides
great.
a spy?
It's crazy that I had this, dude. And someone offered me $20,000 for it so they could sell drugs at Rollins College, and I was like, maybe. It was wild that I had
It's actually
this.
the most responsible thing he's ever done is turn down 20 grand. Like that's a lot of money, but he had the foresight to be like, well, this is like full blown like drug lord conspiracy theory
Dude,
identity theft. So.
I knew the kid whose it was. Like my like girlfriend's sister like dated him and stole it and gave it to me. So it was great. Like the whole thing was insane. It was a real scumbag shit of me to use it in general, but at least I didn't sell it. But anyway, so I had
back, John. You earned it, babe.
But so I had this.
I would have sold it, by the way. I would have been that idiot. Like 20K for sure.
I had this fake passport with my real credit card, and so the person at the liquor store was like, "This doesn't match up." And I immediately had this elaborate story of how I'd misplaced my wallet. My father sent me his credit card so I could use that. With,
Kevin
like,
McAllister over
right?
here.
And like as we walked out of the liquor store, my girlfriend's just like, "You're a piece of shit." Like it was so easy and so fast. She was just like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry."
That's like, you can't expose that side of yourself to the ladies because then they will never believe another word out of your mouth.
Well, that's the thing is, it's like, well, now every single thing I'm going to question.
Right, 100%.
And you should.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't blame you.
What I don't like about myself, a long list, but when I find myself lying about completely ordinary things that are just not necessary to lie about, it's like where did I get dinner, or what did I eat, or what? It's just like, well, that wasn't true, but I don't know why I said that. It's this truly compulsive.
Dude, sometimes I just don't remember, so I lie, and then I remember later, and I'm just like, should I correct it, or what's the point of it? Like, I can't even keep track of my own fibs.
We were talking to Liz Mealy right before this, and she was we basically had a whole conversation about how much you hide of your real self, like at all times.
Yes.
And then part of me starts to feel like I'm like smarter than the rest because I'm like, why are you believing this? You guys are idiots. I'm lying to you. It's a weird feeling to just have to admit you're a sociopath.
But then it hurts your feelings when you realize they don't care enough to back check. You're like, oh, I'm so good at this, and then they're like, no, it just went over my head. I don't give a shit.
I didn't catch you because I actually wasn't listening because I don't find you interesting at all. So.
I was focusing on my own lies.
And then you start thinking about that. Everybody's just lying to each other and telling stories that aren't real and fucking. This world is
It's like the
fucked,
real
man.
life internet.
Yeah. Seriously is. So any more movie plans, or was this kind of like a one and done thing to get the comedic story out there, or is this part of the plan now?
All of this, like everything that I've done from releasing the special independently to releasing this movie independently is just showing it's my attempt at showing people what I can do. So in hopes of getting legitimate work, it's tough for me to even get a fucking audition at this part, even with an agent. So if they're not going to give me an opportunity to land a role, then I might as well take a role and show that I'm capable of doing it in hopes that could prove, worthy of like even an audition or an opportunity or an offer. So I would totally do it again, but it just depends what's on the horizon.
It's interesting because whenever people are asking about how they get involved with the blog or the podcast network, whatever, I always tell them, like, just fucking do it. Like,
Right.
show me a podcast, show me a blog you wrote. And you're kind of doing that, but just with a full movie. Like, it's like, it was a polished product that you put out, but you're using it in hopes to, showcase. So, I mean, I feel like that's the new way to just, like, pursue any dream, is to just do it and be able to show people, like, here's an example of me doing it.
I hope so, at least. I'm definitely throwing shit at the wall, and I'm hoping anything sticks. And nothing has led to like the big breakout moment yet. But all you could do is just head down, keep working. Like I'm releasing something this week, which is a fake documentary about this character I created, Frank Rigatone, which is he's a Rockland County gym owner that refused to abide by Governor Cuomo's.
He's just the guy, like the AR-15 and the bandana.
Yes.
Yeah. Governor Homo.
Exactly. Yeah. So we shot an entire at my in-laws' house. We shot an entire mockumentary. Brendan Sagalow actually plays Mrs. Rigatone, my wife, and it's just a preposterous character piece that it's like, okay, I did a special, I did serious acting, and now here's a total character piece that is just off the wall. And it's like, I don't know, I'm just trying things. Here you go. That's
the way, though. I mean, that's the people who are still waiting for like the formal audition and like the get in the room and perform. It's just not how it works anymore.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And, a lot of people that get parts have the following already, so their established fan base is what's leveraging their work. So if you can continue to build the following and have people that are ride or die and like your work, then hopefully that'll lead to more shit and more money.
It's the name of the game, man. Because you got this fucking kid, and they are expensive as shit, dude.
It is truly baffling how much this kid costs. It's like,
nuts.
dude, I want to hammer.
Why
throw
you guys all
into the
do
deep end of
this?
pool.
I don't know. Why do we do it? Why?
Like,
It's.
Dude, I was talking to my buddy the other day, right? I was texting with him, and his wife and his kid were away, and I was like, oh man, like you live in that bachelor life, you fucking just getting fucked up. And he goes, dude, I go to bed soundly knowing that no one will wake me up at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. And I was like, why did you do this? No one seems to enjoy it. I don't get it.
No, we don't.
Well, that's funny that your friend even can sleep, because I, on the road, I'm like, yes, finally, I get 3 days of sleep. This is amazing. And then at 7:30 a.m., I'm like,
no,
just had a pure robot.
How old is your kid now? Just turned
Mike,
one,
do you want to know what time I got out of bed yesterday?
No, you don't, Mike. You don't.
4 p.m. And that was only to go to the bar.
That's the idea, is have breakfast at sunset.
I got out of bed at 4 p.m. and the only reason was to go drink. That was it. That's the life I lead, dude.
That's depression. That's clinical depression. You know what? I found myself. We filmed a video a couple weeks ago doing like a hot dog eating contest, and as someone's talking, I'm in the background, and the whole time I'm just like this, and I realized I'm constantly rocking ever since I had a kid. I can't. If I'm standing on a line, if I'm standing at a bar, you watch me. I'm just always because I for 3 straight years I was rocking a kid.
Oh,
like constantly moving. It's so weird, and I can't. Like, I do it like I don't notice it. I can't stop it. So like things like that. You can't sleep ever again. I can't stop moving ever again. I can't stop worrying ever again. My kids slept in the other day, convinced they're dead. Every single time my kids sleep past like 5 minutes after they're supposed to be awake, and then it's a double-edged. Then it's like, well, do I wake them up? Because I don't want to. I would love to lay here and not have to worry about them. But I'm also sitting here panicking they're fucking dead. So I'm not really enjoying myself. So then I kind of do like a little shake. And I see them breathe, and then I run out. It's a whole fucking thing, and none of it makes sense.
It's just like Stand By Me. You poke them with a stick just to make sure they're moving. Dude, I'm the same way where like I used to take like hundreds of milligrams of edibles and then judge roast battle. Like I just could exist in that world. I was totally fine. Yeah. This weekend I was taking some edibles and I took like 25 milligrams, and I immediately went through a wormhole of how I might die someday, and my son is gonna like how I have to pass on every lesson that I've ever had to my son, and I have to ensure that he knows who I am and all this stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this sucks. I might have grown out of hallucinogens. This blows.
It's a wild trip though. Are you gonna like? This is so far down the road, but would you like encourage your son to do comedy or like any of that kind of shit?
I don't know if I would encourage him, like give him the idea, but if it was an idea that he had and he felt like that was the way he wanted to express himself, I wouldn't turn him against it. When people are like, this job is too hard, it's blah blah blah, it's like, yeah, so is anything you want to be great at.
Yeah.
Like if you actually have ambitions to be great or to do what like this sounds cheesy, but like what speaks to your soul,
Right.
none of it is going to come
Or
easy.
even something just alternative, to be honest. Like if it's not a 9-to-5 office gig for a paycheck, if there's any sort of passion or whatever, it's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, my wife owns her own floral design company, and they crush it. They do huge events for like weddings and stuff like that, but they've also taken a giant hit because of the pandemic, because both of our careers fucking rely on congregating. So it's like, and I watch what she's going through, and it's no different than what I'm going through. So it's like, if you truly want to, create something from scratch and make it your own, I think the process is going to be the same either way.
It's weird. I feel like comedy is not a industry where you see a lot of like it gets like passed down. Like are there like father son or mother daughter?
There's some like Dana Carvey's kids do stand up.
Yeah. Okay.
The Wayans, obviously.
Right.
I mean, that is like
that was more like
it.
brothers as opposed to like passing.
They
But
have
even
sons,
the son,
though. Yeah, sons
David
Oh,
Wayans
that's
Jr.
right.
Yeah.
He's on. Yeah. I feel like for the most part, it might be an industry where, because like if you watch timing, like it's such a grind that I could see people almost deterring their kids from it.
Yes.
You don't want to
See,
go down this road.
And also, you need to be sad. So if your dad made, if you succeeded, you made a lot of money, your kids probably aren't that sad.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. And I think my kid might like. So I reacted to my father giving up on acting and then becoming a stockbroker, and my initial knee-jerk reaction was, okay, I'm never going to settle for a job in an office like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna continue to follow my dreams, and I'm not gonna let anybody kind of step in the way. And I have a feeling my kid might see what I do as kind of this inconsistent, depressing, dark, sometimes sad thing, and be like, well, I'm gonna be a fucking accountant.
Yeah, I mean,
Steady.
it probably all depends. And then I could see if you make it like big, that there's resentment there for another reason. You know what I mean? Like dad was famous and on the road, and like, so fuck that. It's an interesting one though. You're right though about that. It's like you gotta discipline your kid, right? And it's like, well, do I do this the right way or do I make him a comedian? And I'm like, well, let's pick right now.
I was talking about that on stage actually, where I was like, listen, like, I want to do better than my parents, but I want to fuck my kid up to be at least interesting.
At least he's got some jokes in the holster during, happy hour or something.
I've seen all these like little, downtown Brooklyn coddled little pussies, and they stink, and they're gonna be shitty adults.
Dude,
So
how
you
about
gotta
this?
kinda
I think
push
I'm
them over at some
officially,
point.
I officially can call myself the poor family in my world. My daughter's friend, he's going for a tennis lesson today, and
Wow.
his parents just offered to pay for Shay as well. $300 to just go do a 1-hour tennis lesson. And I was like,
Just for the day?
yeah, just for the fucking day. Like one lesson, $300. And I'm like, first of all, thank you. That's great.
Does that
second
come
of
with
all,
an 8-ball?
What's that? Yeah,
that
right.
come with an
Like,
8-ball?
what else is involved here? And I'm just like, do I have to? I mean, I really have no interest in her being a tennis player. So do I have to pay? Do I have to offer this? I don't. Luckily, it was through Caitlin. So I'm like, I don't know. You deal with that. But I would be super uncomfortable. They're like, no, I got this. Don't worry. It's like, well. No, I can pay for my own kid, but maybe we can just meet up afterwards. I don't know what's going on here. It's a weird fucking world.
Yeah, we'll go get a slushie in Cadman Plaza Park after.
Yeah, so that kid will be the boring kid because his parents paid for $300 lessons, and
Yeah, or that kid will be like, choking rabbits unconscious. Because his parents, instead of hugging him, sent him to a $300 an hour class.
I love it, man. All right, well, timing's out on Amazon Prime. So anybody
sir.
can go catch it. Like I said, Akash and Tim and Mike Feeney, a whole bunch of other guys in there. It was awesome. It's a very cool indie flick vibe of New York City and comedy. I think especially if you're from here or you do comedy or whatever, I feel like you can relate to it. And even if not, it's just Gracie and Mike, man, I feel like you could write like a Jack and Diane song about them. Shit. The ending left me all sorts of emotional, dude.
Yeah, it was well, and also thanks to the director Alex for including every single kiss scene that we ever filmed. So my wife is like, so there's just keeps going.
I was wondering at one point, like you're in bed, and I was like, is my boy about to do like a full blown like fuck scene right now? But no, it's all good.
Oh yeah,
great shit,
that
man.
would have made the movie even more realistic, just full penetration.
It's great shit, man. Keep it up. Hopefully, you get back on stage, and we gotta do Irish Goodbye soon. We gotta do a little home and home.
Oh yeah, I'd love to have you guys. Hell
It's
yeah, that'd be
Mike
great.
had described it to me as a like a storytelling podcast. I was like, I got the boy for it.
Oh yeah, we got to get you guys on.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, dude.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good one.